Greetings, everyone. Welcome to another week of BlastCast, or this week known as Sickcast, because Lightning Dragon and I are really under the weather. And I'm currently underneath the influence of NyQuil, the nighttime sniffling, sneezing, so you wake up on the kitchen floor going, "Where the fuck am I?" medicine. And
I have a sore throat.
yeah, so there you go. So we'll do our best, so bear with us. Well, there is good news this week. There's some very good news. As anyone who had listened to last week's program would know, that I almost had to revoke Lightning Dragon's license to be on my show.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
Yes, and I happened to see when I was at work that The Princess Bride was indeed on Netflix, and I had him watch it, and I kept calling him. I was like, "Are you done yet?" "No, I got."
No, I'm still watching. It's only been 20 minutes. Okay, I'll come back later. Are you done yet? No, there's still half of the movie left. Okay, call me when it's over. I remember that. I think I've seen clips of this movie before, because
Yes.
it wasn't all completely, totally unfamiliar. So if I have seen the whole thing, it was such a long time ago that I don't remember it anymore. I think my sister might have been like, "Oh, let's watch The Princess Bride." I'm like, "What?"
So, can you confirm that it is not a chick flick?
I guess it's not. I mean,
And
it's
now
more of a humorous, funny, haha movie, just very oddly named.
and now you know where the Dread Pirate Roberts comes from.
Yeah, I do.
All right, so we've actually fixed those issues. So he is now welcome back onto the show. But this week there hasn't been a whole lot of news so far. We're expecting
We're making
them.
shit up.
Well, exactly, yeah. But we're still expecting them to announce the PTU 2.4 this week. They said that they wanted to go ahead and at least get something onto the PTU every month to kind of get things moving forward. Obviously, there's like only a week left, so I would honestly expect to see something. There's a lot of speculation about what it's going to be, and I could throw lots of speculation at you. But truth of the matter is no one outside CIG really has any idea, and if they do, they have a non-disclosure agreement, so no one's really heard anything.
Non-disclosure agreements.
Yeah, I mean, they do give tours. I mean, it's possible that someone had to sign an NDA to get in to take a tour. They did that with a large group a while ago.
The Next Great Starship winners, right? Or no?
Oh,
No, it was that one big clan. That's right.
Just
yeah.
Test. I think Test Squadron came in or something like that. But
One of those
anyway,
big guys.
yeah. So last video I did was a kind of a review on EvoCron or EvoChan. And
Just easier to say that way.
I know. So since I've been playing it some more, I've actually learned that I only dipped my toe into the game because I found out not only could you, as you intercept NPC ships and talk to them and pay them for information about things they found in space, so you can go out, they'll give you coordinates, or you can hire them to be in your fleet, and you can also set up these sensors that you can go ahead and do scanning in system. Basically, it is a large area, and you can find abandoned goods or abandoned ship parts that are out in space, and that can be worth a ton of money, and things that are extremely rare to find that you can add to your ship to really kind of enhance the experience. And Lightning and I are wondering why there's a lot of sectors in space, but we thought, there's really not a lot in the sectors. But I found out by doing some research that a lot of those sectors are actually empty because they're leaving it to the players to discover what's actually in those areas of space by laying out those sensor beacons and by traveling around and finding.
As opposed to showing you the entire galaxy and saying where you want to go, like Elite Dangerous, for example.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's kind of cool. It's kind of a very involved kind of exploration. So really, in the sense, you get more out of the game the more you put into it. So I'm really enjoying
had
it.
Something like that too. Basically, like the wormholes were.
The wormholes, yeah.
Yeah, they were randomized. You'd actually wormholes would change. I think they were. I don't know
Tyler,
if they were daily.
Well, Tyler was big into the wormhole thing. I think you had to go in there and get like certain parts to make special ships. And
yeah, there was like gas mining. You could. Well, actually, gas mining moved into the wormholes. It wasn't initially in there, but there was also like certain like really powerful pirates there, like the NPCs.
There are wormholes in EvoChan as well. If you discover them, I remember them saying you have to look for the ones that have a blue flash in the middle or something, because if you check the other ones, it's actually, well, like flying into a black hole and you will die. So you have to. There's a difference between.
There's no teleporting black holes in this universe.
Yeah,
I
but
always thought
definitely.
that was a stupid lore mechanic people have used in like sci-fi games or movies. Like, ah, it's a portal to another dimension. No, it's a collapsed star of super heavy materials that sucks in everything, including light. It is not a wormhole. It's two different things.
That alternate dimension you're thinking of, that's the
It's
afterlife.
death.
Yeah, so anyway, one of the things we want to talk about kind of this week, and we got things we want to go over positive, some things that we feel need to be improved upon. Let's start with some of the things we feel that can be improved upon. I think all of us can agree universally that the hollow table is probably one of the... Oh yeah, it needs to die. The hollow table was obviously the first way that we had to interact with our ships, and they've shown mock-ups of a new hollow table, which is, think of it as just a normal table with a 2D interface, but it's slightly elevated. It's raised up just a little, but it's over a nice black background, and the ships are hollow animated like an inch over the top, and you can actually go ahead and basically it shows you all your weapon slots and stuff. You just drag things in directly.
I think I remember a preview of that, but it's been such a long time. What was that, last year they leaked that picture?
Yeah, it was longer than last year, maybe.
Oh man,
I might have
ages.
I might have a picture of it somewhere around. I'm not entirely sure. If I don't have a picture linked up here in the video, then just know that it is out there. But finding some of this stuff, finding some of this information can be really difficult sometimes because
needle in a haystack. The game's got so much information out there that it's hard to sift through it all at this point.
And one of the things, if there is anything I want to speculate or hope for in 2.4, it's a different hollow table, because that's been very difficult to work with for a while now, especially...
Not to mention, for a while, it massively cut your frame rate down. You remember the one patch where it sucked your frame rate by half?
Oh, yeah, easily. And actually, one thing I can say about 2.4 is that they're adding persistence, and that's going to be helpful, because that's going to be leading towards your first ability to shop, buy clothing, to do all these kind of things, and then you log out, you log back in, and boom, your stuff's still there. So hopefully when they get that persistence in there, what you've equipped on your ships and stuff in the persistent universe, if they give us that option in the persistent universe, which I imagine they would, you don't have to set up your stuff every single time, and that's going to be great. I mean, that's going to save a little bit of time to go out and do things you want to do out there. And of course, this week, or last week, Friday, they released the Prospector, and I did snag one because I felt it filled a role. I did not have a mining ship. Lightning had a big mining ship, and he has the Orion, and
I'll call her Bertha, and she will be great and big.
And the reason that the Prospector caught my eye is the fact that it has the ability to do planetary mining, and it has a different set of sensors on there, which are more exact. So I'm going to use this in tandem with his ship. Now, what I'm going to do with this is, my plan is that when we go out to an asteroid field, I'm going to be looking for the rare, high-value materials, gold, platinum, those kind of things. Mine those out first, and then basically leave the big stuff, the iron, the whatever like that, that's in that rock. And his
cobalt, maybe. I'm trying to think of space engineers.
Uranium or whatever.
Well, uranium's more of a rare material, kind of.
Yeah, well, it depends. I mean, I don't know. But the thing is that leave that stuff out there for him. And he's going to come in with those Orion and basically, just like the rock biter, chew that sucker up. And that's why...
I think a good way of comparing the two is, one of them is like a wide field. So what it does, like the Orion is the wide field, it'll scan in a bigger location, and you'll get more information, like this rock has this, it has this, it has this, these rocks have that and that. And the Prospector it's a narrow thing, so it's not quite as far-reaching, obviously, but you can come in there and be like, okay, well, we know what is in these rocks, but this one, like on the sensors of the Orion, it's like it shows that it has lots of iron, but there's something else in here, like it didn't pick up the other stuff, because it just goes, oh, here's the biggest type of ore that's in it. So you have a general idea of what's in those, and then the Prospector would be like, oh, well, there's also gold in here, but it's not like trace, but there's like not quite as much. Like maybe it's 10% gold and like 80% iron, and then the other 10% is like just regular rock, basically.
Yeah, and the way that they're kind of describing it, I mean, it really kind of sounds like if we were in a large asteroid field, and maneuvering is kind of going to be more of an issue for the Orion, because it's a bigger ship. Having that little ship that be able to go out there and kind of sweep to that asteroid field and tell them exactly where they would want to go. is going to be helpful. That you can really use that in a very positive kind of either small group or even fleet kind of event where you all go out together and work. And one of the most interesting parts about the Prospector is the fact that it carries these storage containers that they fill up like a balloon. And when they fill up to the max, they can detach and be picked up, say, like by what's the transport ship? The Hull B, Hull C, those kind of things, and can be attached to those. And then
or
another
a freelancer.
Or freelancer, whatever. Basically, then another one is on top of. Basically, there's like I think 4 or 5 of them, and as they fill up,
There's
you
4,
just attach
2
it.
per side.
Okay, yeah. Well, I mean, there were stacks. There was 2 per side, but I mean, on top of that, there were stacks. As they fill up, there you take it out, and there's another one on top of it, kind of like pulling tissue papers out of a tissue paper box. And so as you fill those up, as you remove it, another one is in place, and it starts filling up that one. So that kind of thing is kind of interesting because you can basically have if you're on a planet, for example, and you're doing planetary mining, you can have someone who has a Hull A or a Hull B come down with you and unload you, and you can keep mining. So there's the nice cooperative kind of thing going on there where it's going to allow a little bit a different dynamic for team play or guild play, and I love those kind of things. I think the strong points of Star Citizen is the community, and anything that gets players in the community involved with one another is only a good thing. But the Prospector brings something to the table as well. The idea of kind of stepping stones, ships that lead up to other ships. And while the Prospector is a great stepping stone, it's like if you want to do mining and you don't have the money to get to buy an Orion.
Or you don't want to go out there and hand drill, because that's something they talked about.
Right. It's a stepping stone. And that's what we need to see, I think, a lot more of in these specialized roles. See, we have enough cargo ships. We have enough fighters. We have stepping stones among all that. There's stepping stones in exploration ships. You have the Mustang Beta, then you can go to the Freelancer Dur, and then you can go all the way up,
not the 315. Is it the 315?
You're right, the 315. Series. You're right, the 315. I forgot about that one. Thank you. And you can go all the way on up to what my friend Gerald has, and so the Carrack, and so that's a nice stepping stone there. Racing ships, same kind of thing. You have like everything up to like the M50 and 350R.
The Mustang again has a racing variant. The Omega is what it is, I think.
Exactly. So you have like obviously it wouldn't be as fast as like a 350R or the, but there's layers.
M50.
Yeah, there's levels, and that's great. And what we need to do is maybe see something like that for the repair ship, and to a degree, salvaging. That's another good one.
Even though I think, again, the 315P also has a tractor beam, which is probably a lot of what you'll need for salvaging, so that's kind of a dual-purpose ship.
Yeah, and as you get some with a tractor beam on there, I mean, technically anything can be a salvager.
Oh yeah, just think about the days in early Eve before they added the actual dedicated salvaging ship. I forget the name of it. People would fit the destroyers. That's not the Reclaimer, in Eve.
Oh, in Eve, sorry.
Yeah, in Eve, yeah. There's an actual dedicated salvaging ship in Eve now. As you rank up, you get longer range to your tractor beams.
I had that one. I was a salvager. I was mostly a salvager in Eve. I had it looks like a B-wing kind of ship. I had the fleet version. Points. Yeah, I had the faction version of that salvager ship, and I was always out there doing that kind of thing. So yeah, absolutely. So yeah, that's the kind of thing we'd like to see more of, I think, is these stepping stones, because this way you're not forced to go into a gameplay style that you don't want to go into just to get the money that you need to get to the play style you want to. And I think that's just something that really is just massively important. And I'm hoping to see more of these as time goes on. And one of the things I want to talk about here, aside from the ships, is that I want to kind of discuss real quick what makes a good game versus a game being bad when it comes to controls. Now, I've been very interested in looking at Avoca Legacy, because that's a game that's developed by one guy. He's been making a series of games, the space games, since all the way back since DOS. And he's been dedicated to basically taking his concept and constantly moving forward, involving it. Like, if you have Legacy, there's no need for you to buy Mercenary. It's like the new version, upgraded. It's the better with more systems. But it's like the evolution of this game. A series that he's been doing, kind of like the same way you have the whole X series until you get to X Stillbirth, which is the de-evolution of
Yeah,
everything.
don't buy X Rebirth. It's bad. Just stick with X3, the Albion Prelude or Terran Conflict or whichever one it is.
Yeah, Rebirth is terrible. And that's why we call it Stillbirth. It just came out dead. It just came out dead. It was terrible. I mean, I've never seen a game that it literally had a problem in the beginning that when you were started playing the game, the better computer you had, the worse it ran. They had some sort of problem where it and this was posted by the developers that they were, I guess they only expected up to a certain, they only built it up to a certain point, I guess, to handle certain systems, and if your system went and exceeded those expectations, your frame rates got worse and worse and worse. And I know they've
Tried to
addressed.
load more and more
Oh,
assets to try and like
yeah.
keep up with your system, and it just destroyed it.
Yeah, it was a pretty terrible game. It was a great concept, terrible execution. So yeah, it's just one
We've
of those
harped
things.
on that many times. I don't know if we've ever
Yeah.
done it in the podcasts, but
Yeah, it could have been a lot more. It really could have been more. But then they basically consoleized it. And that's one of the things that one of the dangers, I think, when you look at games is that when a game is, you can go really complex and you could also go really simple. And sometimes simple isn't a bad thing and sometimes complex isn't a bad thing. But when you're
need
dealing
a
with,
good balance between.
right, you absolutely do. You're completely correct. And that's
If you oversimplify something, it gets to the point where it's either boring or dull. And if you make something too complex, you're only going to have the diehard people that come in there and be like, "Oh, yeah, this is the best thing ever. You can do this and this and that and that." And there's like 20 different things you can do, or revolving around like one aspect of the game, which has like 100 different aspects, and you can really get down deep into it. But there's a lot of people that are like, "I don't care. I just want to play the game."
Yeah, absolutely. And then there's that a good game has the ability for anyone to pick it up and play it, and for those who really want to dig into it, has the ability to have that depth. Kind of like as I'm discovering with Evocarin. Okay, like I just thought it was like a main storyline and a sandbox. But as I look into it more and more, the construction elements, the building of your own stations and cities, and the economy, and the hiring NPCs and hiring crewmen, and the crewmen have, not only do they have skill levels, but they have loyalty levels. And if their loyalty level is low, and you go to a station, they may leave your crew. I mean, if you pay them more, the loyalty goes up, and so you have to determine how much you want to pay them, and you're risking that your best engineer might leave your ship if you don't pay him enough when you dock next time. So there's that kind of that
Never dock again.
well, you gotta sell some things, but yeah, but you could sell the NPC ships and stuff. But yeah, I guess you could avoid it that way.
That'd be
But
really weird.
yeah, but that's the kind of thing, it's that level of, you could just pick up the game, you could play it. You don't really have to get into all these systems. You don't have to get into the station building. You don't have to get into the setting up the sensor probes to find hidden items. You don't have to do any of this. You can just fly around and just do missions. But with the systems as well, as far as flying, you could just fly with your engines on all the time, or you could try to do the inertial system, where basically you're just doing mostly vector combat and you're minimizing fuel usage. There's this depth that can be achieved in any game, like especially when it comes to Star Citizen. That there's been that poll that's been out on that was moved from Arena Commander to general chat, still asking people, what kind of flight mechanics do you want? Do you want aim based? Do you want flight based? And flight based is still massively in the lead, well over 70%. In that area, right? We're right around 70%, and then there's like 11 or 12% undecided, maybe, or undecided, or they don't understand the definition. That's kind of the way it's
Which
worded.
is probably, I think, what's really going on. Because
Mhm.
when you first talked to me about it, it's like, what the hell are you talking about? And then you're like, oh, well, it means this. And it's like, oh, okay, well, that makes sense. It's worded strange.
Yeah, exactly. Wording's a big thing when it comes to polls, and everyone always finds some way to complain about a poll. Like, hey, this
People
isn't
will
worded.
complain about anything and
Welcome,
everything.
welcome to the internet. No, it's 2016. Sorry, that should make someone mad. Anyway, so
Oh, boy, now you've done it.
I'm not putting up a trigger warning. Anyway, get triggered. Anyway,
Next topic.
no. So you've got that kind of setup. As far as they're looking at the what kind of thrust that people want. Do you want MAV centric, which is basically like the 1.3 model, where thrusters, like 4 thrusters pointing in a direction, is equivalent of the main engine? Or do you want a mix where the main engine is the most powerful? Or do you want the asteroids, for those people who played Atari, kind of model, where the main does about 90% and your thrusters do like 10%? And between the asteroid model's got like 12%, and then like the other one is it's got like the one is the mix is like a little over, I think right around 50 something percent, maybe 60, and then the undecided is like once again like 11 or 12. So, but the vast majority of people are looking at having a more complex flight model. But I think I see the reason that the one where the mixed MAV and engine is more, think more like Diaspora or Evo.
Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah, exactly. Battlestar Galactica kind of combat. That's what the mixed MAV main engine one is.
I'm in that same category as well. Well, I don't mind. I mean, like personally, it's. I'm gonna quote the face here. It's pick one and stick with it, basically.
Exactly.
Like I don't care if it's 90% of your thrust is from the rear engine. That's fine. I'm okay with like 60% of your thrust coming out the rear engine. What I'm not okay with is basically not even needing to have an engine. Because if you make it so it flies all based off thrusters, there's almost no reason to even have that main engine except for like the quantum drive. Basically you change the way that the engine is, and it's more of a jump engine, and then a generator basically for your thrusters. And we don't want. I mean, like 80% of the population doesn't want an FPS. I mean, we're going to have an FPS. We touched on this before.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing though, and I agree with what you're saying. The face has become one of my favorite posters out there in the Arena Commander forums. He's an RSI. And RSI.
That's the company.
That's the company. Anyway, he's an RS.
Renegade Squad.
Yeah, and he and I agree. Like every time he posts, for me, it's like I had written it myself, but he's more eloquent of a writer than I can ever be. And the thing is that we see eye to eye in this, and I agree with that concept. No matter what model is chosen, it has to be picked. And then things have to be dedicated to that. You can't go wishy-washy. If you try to go between asteroids and MAV-centric, you can't mix those two. You can't. There's no viable way to mix it between different ship kinds. So you really have to pick an overall model, and you have to go with it. And I think this is what I'm looking forward to most in 2.4. And this is speculation, but they've stated that 2.4 is the most significant change to the game since 2.0 came out. Now I'm just hoping here, that they have included finally their pipeline and their internal systems. If that's true, if that happens, we could finally be looking at settling in on a final flight model. We've seen some massive changes since the game came out. We had the 0.8, which had the decoupled mode was the only way you could strafe, but basically you shut your main engine off and everything went to the thrusters. You were kind of like a sliding turret. But that was much closer to, say, something like Diaspora, and that was fine. But a lot of people didn't. It had the gimbals are run by an auto targeting system that kind of slowly locked on, kind of moved into the line with the target, and I think that was probably the closest we've had so far to an actual flight model. 1.3 on up to 1.3 has been more of an FPS or a Gundam or Robotech kind of game style. And 2.0 has tried to move back down to some degree to 0.8, but while implementing the full strafing and stuff that you have from like 1.3 kind of thing. But it's slow in that regards and still uses a lot of the arcadey aim mechanics. So you end up with this amalgamation that doesn't quite work on any level. But I think once they get those systems in, and they throw in things like the weight of the components, the actual weight of the ships, the mass of the ships, and they actually get rid of those XML files and move into a mass and versus thrust, and we come up with...
Oh yeah, if they have the mass versus acceleration system, that's what I've been saying since the flight model started getting broken. It's like that's what they just need to go to, because they already have the TR system, so. Basically, they already have half the guidelines they need for a mass to acceleration, system. They just have to have that mass, and everybody knows, or you should know, that the ship spec page is always and massively out of date. So take anything you see on that with a grain of salt, because again, it's
take
still
it with a salt lick.
Yeah, take it to get a big old heaping bowl of salt with a side of salt on the side of that.
Yeah, it's like a time I was dared when I was in middle school to eat corn with 4 teaspoons of salt in it. And
Ugh.
oh yeah, that was those were good times.
Man, I like salt, but I don't know if I could eat that.
Well, I hurled anyway. Good times, right? Things you do when you're young. Anyway, so yeah, I mean that's the thing is finding a model, sticking with it, and I think as we approach 2.4, we might start to see that. I think they're going to be pushing heavily into that because with 42 around the corner, and we're almost halfway into the year. They're going to go ahead and they're going to need to go ahead and get that nailed down for the actual game. And I think now is the time you're going to start seeing that push.
Yeah, there's only
And
7 months until basically they have to release
right,
if
at
they're going to
least,
stay on their quote unquote schedule, air quotes.
well, yeah, that's debatable. I mean, I don't think they're going to release the full game by the end of the year. I think what we're going to
No,
get
no.
is
I
the
think you're
first several
right.
missions, and I
Yeah,
think that way they can say that they've released it. And
between 3 to 9 missions at
yeah,
most.
yeah, I think that's what's going to happen. And if I'm wrong, believe me, I want to be wrong. So there's lots of things that I don't want to be wrong about. So, but one of the things that was on 10 for the chairman today was kind of interesting.
Because we were talking about this freaking yesterday while we were
Yeah,
playing Armored Warfare.
yeah,
I was like, man, they need to figure out how they're gonna instance ships versus players, because you're gonna have that argument of why bring one Idris into a battle when you can bring like 10 or 20 retaliators with NPC crews. Ooh, but you know, it's the biggest ship you're able to pilot alone. But why would you pilot it alone? I mean, but anyway, you could go ahead and tell everybody what was on 10 for the chairman.
yeah. Normally, most of the times, I'll be honest with you, 10 for the chairman kind of repeats things that
It's
we
10 from the disappointment.
well, we get a lot of times we get repeat questions. I think that's because like there's a lot of new people who come in or whatnot, but you do get a lot of repeat questions. The thing is that what they talked about here was how the instancing is going to work with ships. So, like for example, like an Idris could be crewed. Like let's say you got 30 something players in there, and that could fill up half an instance, right? So
Or all of it.
or all of it, depending upon what's going on. So what they're talking about doing as far as cargo and people in the ships and whatnot, that those unless that our ship is like either going to be docking with it, connecting with it, or whatnot, that for the most part nothing is relayed to that main instance, so they don't count against it. So basically, you'll have like you see the pilot sitting in the chair, and you may see someone walking up in the cockpit or something. There may be that kind of cutoff. I don't know, but the thing is that you would see like whatever the cockpit and the guy in the chair, and that will count like as a unit, as one item, and it won't count the cargo boxes. It won't count things inside. That's stuff that's handled on the internal grid of the ship itself. And this way, you could have, if you want to, if it's done right, you could have 20 Idrises flying side by side, and you know it wouldn't fill up the that area. It wouldn't fill up that server instance. So if they do this right. And I'm not sure how that's going to work, as I said, because right now, as you know, you can walk up to next to the pilot in the cockpit, and someone in their ship can see you doing that. So at some point, there has to be a cutoff, like anyone maybe behind this door you can't see or something. But
Which is kind of how they already have the game. Like, if
yeah,
anyone has seen footage of the Starfarer, in that, basically each section of the ship is its
true.
own little area, and nothing outside of that is loaded until you go up to the door, and then it streams it in.
Right, yeah, they were showing that I think on the first walkthrough with Ben and whatnot. They had some of the doors were actually there was a white there was a block of white in front of them, and when they opened, and what that was, they said that nothing draws beyond that until the door is opened, and then basically then things are drawn behind it, and this saves you a lot of processing power and whatnot because you're not actually trying to draw the entire ship, and
More
that
of
makes
memory
streaming.
in your video card.
Yeah, it's well that too,
Either
but
or.
it's
Same
it's
thing.
yeah.
Same end result, basically.
But basically, it's just a complex method of streaming, and they showed that a while ago with this video of the Idris. They showed basically when you were leaving the hangar, and they went around the side. That as the hangar inside the hangar went out of view, the whole interior of the ship was undrawing to like 10 feet past your view.
Oh,
And
it was a while ago they showed that.
yeah, and as you come back around, it draws it back in like 10 feet ahead of the camera. So this way, you're not drawing anything you're not seeing, and it's and I think that's if they apply that to the way that players are dealt with, then we can go ahead and kind of ramp it up some more, and that's going to take a lot of work though, and I think let's say, with their primary concern, this isn't really a concern for them as much right now, with Squadron 42 being the focus, because that's more of a single player experience with some multiplayer aspects. You can go back and play missions with friends or a friend. I don't know how many people can be invited, but for the most part, so even then, that net code isn't really important when you have only like 2 people or 3 people who can participate.
Which is the weirdest thing, because just yesterday I was talking about this is exactly how they'd have to do it to make it work.
Yeah.
And then the next day, 10 for the chairman, oh yeah, we're going to do it like this. I was just talking about that freaking Sunday.
Yeah, and that's the thing, it's like, because now if they do it that way, you can load, if you have a big enough ship, you can load 20 cargo containers in a ship, and it's not going to matter, because it doesn't exist anywhere except on the internal grid. And if a person docks your ship and walks in, the game just loads the location of those items, and then you see them. So there's no need to even. And I think that's going to be very helpful, and I'm looking forward to seeing how they integrate that tech. And boy, I tell you what, I would love to see planets on 2.4. I would really love to see that.
Planetary landing would be pretty amazing, because they've already talked about that. They already have all the voxel stuff pretty much done.
Yeah, well, a lot of it now is getting like, the. I think one of the biggest challenges they're going to have is that, well, if you procedurally generate a planet, and they've already shown a video where you can walk around on it, you're going to have to make sure that when you have the not just the graphics that you see, but you have a layer basically on top of that where that keeps players from stepping through, if you will, a clipping layer. And you want to make sure that like you don't basically have something randomly generate a spot where you can step through the planet and fall right into the core or something. Because
which has happened in Space Engineers a few times.
I was going to say that exact thing, because that's what happens in Space Engineers sometimes. They have a voxel system as well, and they've added planets recently, and sometimes you're walking along and
actually it hasn't been that recent. They did like the first of the year, I think.
Yeah, that's true, but you can insert your sound that Goofy makes when he falls. Yeah, hoo, 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 and you just go straight on through to the other side.
Until you hit the planet core.
The planet core. We just quoted the worst Star Wars movie ever.
Oh, they're bad. They are bad. Let's switch topics before it gets.
That's like hate, rage, and unsubscribe for even bringing that up. But yeah.
Use your aggressive emotions, boy.
Yeah, at least they kept the same actor for the Emperor, though. He was good.
I thought that was cool.
But anyway, so yeah, I mean, I think that's a good system to see. But overall, I'm really excited to see what 2.4 brings to the table. It might already be being tested, when they have that group of 1,000 or so.
Secret shard.
The secret players, the guys with the platinum ticket. So basically, well, they already have a golden ticket. They have a platinum one. No, so the thing is that I'm really looking forward to seeing that. I think this is going to be absolutely an exciting thing for us to get into. I think Persistence is going to be just amazing for the community as a whole. And they said that they're going to be getting a UEC, kind of a test UEC, and that test UEC apparently is also going to be convertible to rec, from what he said in 10 for the Chairman. So you'll be able to convert it at a certain point, like to REC for Arena Commander. So this way you can actually go ahead and play in the Persistent universe and get some money. And then if you want to play Arena Commander, you want to rent a ship, just convert some of that test UEC, boom, get REC, rent some gear.
I'm going to rent me a Super Hornet because it's the most powerful, best ship in the world, and we don't need any other vehicles other than lots of Super Hornets. A fleet of Super Hornets will blot out the sky.
I remember referred to it as like money inception. Because you've got
Inception?
Yeah, money inception. It's a statement he made in there. It's like you go into a game to get virtual test money to transfer it to virtual game money so you can get stuff in the game. That's in the game. It's moneyception,
Moneyception.
Well,
yeah.
Anyway, guys, so that's just some general thoughts this week. We'll see what happens. I don't have any additional news for you yet this week or another video to go up as of yet, and I don't like to inundate you guys with lots of stuff that just isn't relevant or speculate too much, because
I'm sure I can think of something given enough time, but I forget shit all the time. I need to write this crap down.
Yeah, maybe we'll do something fun this week and do some sort of little short Let's Play or something goofy. I don't know. We'll come up with something probably.
I voted we'd played Armored Warfare and just guess over that, but we actually thought of something this time, so who knows?
Who knows? Anyway, guys, so once again, thanks for joining us on this week's BlastCast, and leave your comments down below if you have any thoughts about what you think's coming out in 2.4, how you feel about the holotable, how you feel about the Prospector. Are you excited about it? What you feel about the whole idea of a more stepping stone ships, and what kind of flight model you're kind of interested in. The whole gamut, just whatever we talked about today. And always feel free to leave your positive and negative comments, because the only way I can learn to be a better podcaster or broadcaster YouTuber is by finding out how much I suck. So anyway, guys, we'll catch you next week, and thanks for listening to BlastCast.